Last week we were all getting excited about Rishi Sunak and his budget, but now the dust truly has settled and the reviews are well and truly in. But we're starting to find out more. And as one leading tax barrister points out in a piece, one of the themes, if not really the preeminent theme, was about truth and honesty. But leading tax barrister Keith Gordon from Temple Tax Chambers has reason to question that. He joins me now. Mr. Gordon, good morning. What did you pick up on?
Good morning, Nick. Yes, my concern was a power that the revenue want to create for themselves, which will allow them to go directly to your bank or building society or any other financial institution and say, right, we want to see all of Nick's bank accounts as far back as you have got them on your computers. No checks.
And what was the current situation? How far could they go back, and what challenge might I, or anybody, have been allowed, Keith?
Well, first of all, they could ask you, but you would have the right to challenge that and appeal to the tribunal and say, I'm sorry, that is not reasonably required. Or if it's going further back than when you have an open inquiry, then HMRC have got to show they have reason to doubt that your tax return is incorrect. These are safeguards which have been there ever since the legislation was first enacted. They are jealously guarded by the tribunals, and generally taxpayers, unless the revenue can show that there's an open inquiry or they've got reason to suspect an underpayment, the tribunals will not allow your bank statement to be requested.
And as a result of what we learnt last week, this is all gone now. There's no challenge allowed now then, Keith?
Exactly. So now they can go directly to the Bank Building Society. You can't argue it. The Bank or Building Society can't argue it. The Bank or Building Society, if they've still got their possession or control, will be obliged to give the revenue the information, and if they don't, they'll get a penalty.
OK, couple of things. Why are they doing this, and why does it give concern to professionals such as yourself?
I can answer both of those questions together. There's the official reason, and there's what many tax advisors consider to be the real reason. Which one do you want first?
The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, Keith.
The reason that most tax advisors believe that the revenue want these new powers, is because they don't like the safeguards that are currently existing.
I see. Yeah. And the other suggestion is?
The official suggestion is that a couple of dozen times a year, the revenue has to process requests from overseas tax authorities. There's a mutual exchange agreement, and the revenue has found that it's taking them roughly a year to process these overseas tax authorities' requests, and there's a target of 6 months, and they don't want to get a black mark against this country's name for not complying with international agreements. The problem is this proposal went before the House of Lords end of last year, and the House of Lords recognised that, OK, Britain is taking 6 months longer than it should do. And the revenue is saying this is because of the tribunal process. But the tribunal process was taking only about 6 weeks. So even the revenue's own reasons for this change of the rules is not actually supported by the facts. And it was actually quite interesting to see what the House of Lords said about the proposals. They called them poorly targeted, disproportionate, and lacking any necessary safeguards and rights of appeal. There is, under the new proposal, there'll be no way of preventing the arbitrary use of the information powers.
And lastly, is it a done deal, Keith? Is it a done deal, Keith, or does this now have to be debated?
It's got to go through Parliament as part of the finance bill. But when you have a government majority of 80, it requires a very, very large backbench rebellion and an opposition to be able to stand up against the revenue. And I think the only way you can do that is actually to tell these MPs not just what their constituents might suffer, but what they might suffer. The revenue could easily get a bank statement from 6 years ago and say, oh, there's a credit of £127.36p on the 5th of November 2017. What was that for?
God.
I can't remember. Well, we'll assume it's undisclosed income.
Oh, my goodness. That is absolutely a can of worms, as I would say. I must leave it there for time. Thank you. This, by the way, had gone unnoticed. I picked up on this on a financial article that Keith Gordon had penned, so we'll have to see if we can get a bit more energy into that. Keith Gordon is leading barrister at Temple Tax Chambers. Thanks for your time.